Hi, welcome to another Java tutorial. In today's video, we will break down the code of the rock, paper, scissors game step by step, explaining each component, its purpose, and how it all comes together to create a functional game. This code maintains 4 different classes. The first class is the player class, which holds the name and move of the player. The second class is the computer class, responsible for generating a random move for the computer. The third class is the check class, used to determine the winner of the game. Finally, the fourth class is our main class, containing the main method. Let's start the process by creating the player class. In this class, we should create 2 variables. The first variable is name, and the second variable is move, which we'll use to store the name and move of the player. Now let's create the constructor, which is used to initialize objects when they are created. Constructors are typically defined within a class and have the same name as the class itself. In Java, the keyword "this" is a reference to current instance of the class. It is used to differentiate between method parameters and local variables with the same names. Now, let's create getter methods for each private variable. In Java, getter methods are used to access the values of private instance variables of a class from outside a class. They provide a way to retrieve the values of these variables in a controlled manner, without allowing direct access to the underlying data. Now we're done with this class. Let's move on to creating the computer class. For this class, we need to import the random library. This time, we don't need a name, just a variable to store the move. Inside the constructor, we create an object of the random class. As I mentioned before, inside the parentheses, we use system.currentTime millis as the seed to avoid getting the same numbers each time we run the program. Since we need one random integer out of 3, inside these parentheses, we type 3. Now we have one random number, so we need to create a switch case to convert it to one of the moves. This is how the switch case statement works. For case 0, we determine that the move is rock. For case 1, we determine that the move is paper. For case 2, we determine that the move is scissors. And for default, if none of these cases match, we display an error message. Although we could simplify this entire code by using an enum, I've chosen not to use one to avoid complications. As you are probably aware, if you click the button here, it will prompt you to simplify this into a pro switch case. I will create a separate YouTube video dedicated to this topic. Now we create the getter method for move variable. Let's move on to the check class. In the check class, we need to initialize a static method called checkMove and pass 2 variables to it. In Java, a static method is a method that belongs to a class rather than to an instance of the class. This means that you can directly call a static method on the class itself without the need to create an instance of the class. Think of a static method as a special tool intrinsic to the class itself, not tied to any specific object created from the class. For example, imagine you have a class called car and a static method called a start engine. You don't need to create a specific car object to start an engine. You can just use the car.startEngine tool directly, because starting an engine is something that doesn't depend on a particular car. It's the same process for all cars of that type. So, static methods are like shared tools that the class itself provides for general tasks that don't require individual object characteristics. Now, we should initialize a variable and store the player's move by using the getter method that we have created. Let's create the if statement to check the game. First, we check if the player's move is the same as the computer's move. If they match, it's a tie, and the game returns the message tie. If they don't tie, we move on to the else if section. Here, we check a specific winning conditions for the player. For example, if the player chooses rock and the computer goes with scissors, the player wins because rock beats scissors. Similar conditions are checked for scissors beating paper and paper beating rock. If any of these conditions are met, the player wins, and we display their victory message along with their name. If none of the previous conditions matched, it means the player lost. Then we display a message indicating the computer's victory. The computer also reveals its move, letting the player know what they were up against. Now that we're done with this class, let's move on to the main class. First, we need to import the scanner class, which helps us to get input from the user. Inside the main method, we create an object from the scanner class. Inside these parentheses, we say system.in. This is a predefined input stream that represents the standard input source, typically the keyboard. It is used with the scanner class to read user input from the keyboard in Java program. Next, we want to get the player's name. We do this by displaying a message asking the player to enter their name. And then we initialize a variable to store the name. After that, we ask the player to enter their move. And we store the lowercase version of the move to avoid any errors. ToLowerCase is a method available for strings to convert all characters in a string to lowercase. It is used to standardize the case of a string or for case-insensitive comparisons. Now we create an object from the player class and pass the name and the move variable into the constructor. Now we create an object from the computer class. After that, we initialize a variable called result to store the result. Then we call the checkMove method and passing the player's and the computer's move into it. Finally, we display the result. Let's test the program and see the result. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. The entire code is in the description. If you found this video helpful, you can give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. Until the next video, stay awesome and keep chasing your dreams.